Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another insightful and exclusive FLV Global interview today. My name is Colin, so thank you all for joining us via YouTube or podcast. Today we have Dr. Guy Charles Fano de la Roye. Did I say that right, Guy?
Yes, excellent, very good.
He's a non-executive director of GenFlow Biosciences with over 20 years of scientific and managerial experience in the pharmaceutical and biotech industries. For new viewers, GenFlow Biosciences is a UK-based biotech company working to deliver therapeutics that slow or halt the aging progress in humans and dogs, and recently became the first ever longevity company to be listed on the London Stock Exchange. So, bonjour Guy Charles.
Well, good morning to you. I'm very happy to be with you.
Comment ça va?
Very, very well, thank you very much. Tout va très bien, il fait très beau, tout est formidable. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Now, at the risk of me sounding like Doughboy from Only Fools and Horses, I'll revert to English before you can tell that I'm actually your typical English language Luddite. So a very warm welcome, Guy Charles. I believe you're Parisian by birth, is that correct?
Well, not exactly. I was born in Rouen, the place where Joan of Arc was burnt some time ago. But I live in the Parisian region, actually, yes.
You're not currently there at the moment, though. You said you were in Normandy just before we started talking today.
Exactly. You know, I'm taking advantage of August, which is supposed to be the less wet and less dull month of the year in Normandy. I love Normandy. I have a country house, and this is where I go for vacation. So this is where I am right now.
So a lovely time with the family. So look, thanks again for joining me. I was recently looking through your bio, and you have a very impressive background. Can you give our listeners a quick resume of your qualifications, please, and your past achievements?
Yes, well, thank you very much. So, as you may have guessed, I'm French. I'm a French citizen, although I have lived quite a number of years in England and in the USA. By training, I am a veterinarian. I chose this profession because I loved horse riding, and actually I realized that what I loved was really riding horses, and that taking care of horses was not so critical to me. Actually, I graduated from the École Nationale Vétérinaire de Lyon, from the vet school in Lyon, and then I joined the industry as first for a company called Boehringer Ingelheim in the animal health department. Then I went back to school at INSEAD, and then I joined various American companies. I spent quite some time at a company called Sharing Plow, which was one of the pioneers in biotech, and which was taken over afterwards by Merck. Then I joined another U.S. biotech company called Biogen, where I spent 8 years, and I was the manager of the French affiliate. Then I went and spent some time in the USA, and actually I even was at one time the director of sales for the USA, in charge of sales figures of up to $700 million. That was for a drug treating multiple sclerosis. Then I came back to France, and I started running some small French biotech companies. The two most critical experiences, I would say, were with Neovax, which was a company developing anti-cytokine vaccines to treat autoimmune disease like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease, which I introduced onto the French stock market back in 2010. And then I joined the Ferricides Pharma, which is a company developing bacteriophages to treat infections. And I introduced that company on the French market last year in 2021. And I left actually this company in May of this year. So I would say I have quite a broad experience of management in biotech companies in various fields of activities, vaccines, infectious disease, immune disease, multiple sclerosis, and have had functions ranging from sales and marketing to global management. And I have also the experience of interacting with the stock markets, having run two public companies.
Wow, that sounds an amazing background. Now, you've already served as a chief executive officer at 3 biotech companies, and you've helped launch 2 successful IPOs. What is it that attracted you to join the board of directors at GenFlow, and how did Eric convince you to accept this offer?
Well, I think that I think that aging is a critical issue in the coming years. Science has made a lot of progress. We have had new therapeutics for cancer, for infectious disease, and now the main issue is that hopefully we live longer. We have a life expectancy above 80 or 85 years of age in our countries, which means that many of us will live up to 90 years or even more than that. I can tell you that personally, I have 2 grandparents who died when they were centenaries, when they were older than 100 years. However, the key issue is how to live well when you are old. I think that everybody has had relatives who were having very sad periods of their life at the end of their life. Alzheimer's disease is a critical issue, but there are many issues with joint and bone disease, with cardiovascular disease, with cancer. So the key point now for us is not so much to help people to live longer, but to have people live longer and better. And I think that's so. I think that aging is going to become a critical issue. We are all aware of it, and the new field, the new real field of science is going to come into that field, and there is a lot of excitement there. I think that science has made a lot of progress. It is not almost well recognized that aging has to be considered as a disease. There is no way that we should think that it's normal to become weak and sick when we get old. We know that this could be different. Science has made a lot of progress identifying agents, or at least proteins, which play a major role in aging. And now the purpose of the new companies, is to find drugs to treat aging. I think that GenFlow is particularly well positioned in that, with a very strong candidate. They have identified a protein which is sirtuin-6, which plays a critical role in aging. So I think that and Eric had no trouble convincing me to jump onto that adventure. I think that it's very exciting. I think that a lot of progress will be made, and I think that GenFlow is particularly well positioned in that area.
So your 2 grandparents lived to 100 plus, and I believe both your parents now are 90 years of age. Is that correct?
Yes, this is correct.
Did you have a
So
sneaky
people,
suspicion
people
that
who have,
Eric? Go on. Sorry, I
sorry,
was just going to say, did you have a sneaky suspicion that Eric secretly wanted to extract your family DNA?
No, well, this would be a nightmare if he was trying to do it secretly. I think that he could ask me very easily to help him in that way. He has not. No, I think the biotech world is not a big world, and French people and French executives in that field are not that many. I have known Eric for many years. I know he's a very good. He's an MD. He's very strong in science. He has a very thorough experience of managing biotech companies. He's the founder. He's one of the founders of GenFlow. So when he approached me and asked me if I would be willing to run that experience with him and try to bring as much as I can, I was very happy to say yes. And the fact that in my family we have a history of people living very long, and hopefully having a pretty good life even at the end of their life, is for me something which was critical in my decision as well. I hope, and there's a very high probability for me to live long, to go beyond 90 years of age. And I definitely want to have a good life when I am old. And I think that it would be really a mistake not to try to support and help science in that direction.
So he didn't say, "Welcome to the board, and can you spit in this test tube?"
No, not yet.
It's interesting that it seems to me that aging as a manageable disease, which I think is what you're intimating, it's not seriously taken into consideration by the medical world at the moment. So, why is aging research now such a holy grail amongst large institutions? And how is GenFlow positioned in relation to other research companies?
Okay, well, so I think the why is aging such a key point? I think that two reasons actually. One, in the developed countries, in the Western world mainly, the demographics are clearly showing that the population is going to grow much older, and that since the number of young people and the proportion of young people is going to be decreasing in our populations, we need older people, and I include myself in that segment. We need older people to be active as long as possible and to be in good health as long as possible. I think that aging is becoming a very significant social issue, and it will become, if we don't move, if we don't do something critical about it, it will become as well a very significant economical issue. We know that what we want to avoid is that old people with a bad health would become a burden, and that the society would have to take significant decisions in that sense. So there is a big medical and social demand, and it's going to become bigger and bigger every day. First point. And second, science, as I mentioned earlier, science has made a lot of progress. And now there's a whole group of scientists in Australia, in the USA, in Europe, who have made a lot of progress and identified proteins which play a major role in aging. And now the real point is that these people have come up to the concept, which is very new, that aging is not a curse, that aging is a disease and should be treated as a disease, and therefore that there should be research and development of drugs to address that new disease. So I think that the fact that what we saw over the past 30 years with cancer, and cancer was viewed as a curse 30 years or 40 years ago when diagnosis was made. There was no solution to be proposed to the patients, and a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of thought has been directed to treat cancer, and a lot of progress has been made. Many cancers can be treated, and it's not anymore a curse to give a diagnosis of cancer in many cases. I'm not saying that this is a nice thing to have, of course, but many progresses have been made. I think that the same is to apply very soon to aging. There will be solutions. We will be able to come up with drugs which will stop the processes of aging, and which we hope maybe even in some cases reverse aging. So I think that GenFlow, so there have been many directions which have been identified. Now there's science agrees on the fact that there's a body of proteins which play a key central role in aging, which are called the sirtuins. And I think that GenFlow is particularly well suited, well positioned in that field, with having identified and worked on sirtuin 6, which is in that body of proteins one of the key players. And I think that there will be a great advantage for the first companies to make big advances. And I think that sirtuin 6 is a key candidate, and I trust Eric and his team to make things happen.
I see that most companies are just working on one of the degenerative markers of aging, and sirtuin 6 works on 4 or 5 of the 8 or 9 that cause aging. Is that what got you excited about GenFlow's approach, that the sirtuin 6 worked on more than one facet or angle?
Yes, absolutely. I think if we go into more details, as you mentioned, there are 9 markers of aging. So there is a number of researchers and companies which try to work on 1 or 2 of these markers. I believe that it's going to be like in cancer, or it's going to be like in immune disease. working on these markers may be helpful, may bring something to patients, but it will not be able to address really the cause, the root of aging. I think that having identified CA26, which works on at least 4 of these markers, will grant a much better chance of success in the fight against aging. And I think that this is critical, and this is a key differentiating factor for GenFlow vis-a-vis other companies in that field.
Yeah, I saw this month in Health Tech World that just named GenFlow as number 32 in their top 50 innovators of this year. Their criteria was based on health tech companies who stand up for the unique innovation, outstanding tech solutions, or for simply making the world a better place through health tech, which I know Eric really wants to do. How big is the potential for this kind of product, Guichal? And what is different about GenFlow's business model that you think will make it a success?
But I think that whenever you enter a new field, trying to imagine how big the market is going to be is something which is very dangerous, kind of. Let me. So what we are looking at is millions, or tens, or even hundreds of millions of people who will need a treatment which may be kind of prophylactic or which may be curative for aging. We will all age, so everybody potentially is a candidate for the treatments against aging. So this shows you that this is potentially a huge market. Now, you have the number of patients, and on the other side of the equation, you have the price of the treatment. So this is not yet known, of course. This will depend on many factors. Some of them we may not even have the idea of. So I think the bottom line is the potential market is absolutely enormous, huge, and just because aging is a disease which potentially strikes everybody. So that's the first point. I think that the business model of GenFlow, with this, first of all, having identified a key player kind of in terms of protein as a candidate for treatment. The second point to look into the gene transfer and into this new field of gene therapy is something which is unique as well, and which may allow to have very effective treatment. We already have some small examples in orphan disease where the gene therapy has really transformed the lives and has saved the lives of the patients. And the third point on the business model will be the point of where to hand over this new treatment once it has been advanced in terms of clinical development. And I think that no real decision has yet been made on when to do this. I think that some companies have been very successful in handing over very precocious treatments in terms of development. Other companies have been able to push the clinical development quite far. I think that the question will be raised once the very first data is generated with the phase 1-2 study, and as well once we know how the financial markets do behave. I think that to make decision today is very difficult because of the turmoil the markets are going through.
Okay, so look, my final question, because I know you want to get back to your grandchildren and your holiday and the Normandy sunshine or rain. I'm not quite sure which at the moment.
No. It's not. It's a bit cloudy, which is very good for Normandy.
Excellent. Well, so just for you then, how do you see your role as a board member of GenFlow then? And how can you contribute to the company's successful development as it moves forward?
The position of CEO is a very difficult position. I've been through this for a number of years, because the CEO has many things to look at, and things which may be very trivial but absolutely necessary for the good advance of the company, as well as looking to the strategy, as well as looking for funds, trying to, as well as establishing partnership. So the CEO plays a critical role, and by definition, in his company or in her company, in the case of Eric, it is in his company, he may find himself quite alone. It's very difficult when you are CEO to be able to have exchanges and to share and get ideas from the people you work with, because many things just depend on you. The board, I think the board has one of the key attributes or responsibilities of the board is to be able to be a resounding board, kind of for the CEO, to look at the strategy, to be able to ask the good questions, to orientate the thinking of the CEO, to participate into this thinking, and to be very supportive in that direction. Second point as well, in terms of the relationships with the investors, being a non-executive independent director will allow me to help the CEO in the discussions he may have with some of his shareholders. And sometimes, and this is very well known, the interest of the shareholders may not be totally in line with the real interest of the company. And I think that one of the key responsibilities of the board is to help manage these potential conflicts of interest or conflicts of vision, and to help the board, to help shareholders and the CEO to be in line. So I think that for a CEO to have board members who are independent and who have a strong knowledge of the field and a strong knowledge of the markets in that field may be very useful. And this is what I will try to do, is to be to bring my experience, which may be complementary to Eric's experience, and to bring my vision from an outsider viewpoint, not being burdened by day-to-day issues, and as well to bring the perspective from somebody who may have a broader vision, because of this independency vis-à-vis shareholders, and as well the fact that I'm not executive.
Okay, Charles, I can see why Eric got you on board. Very nice.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's a perfect ending to our chat today. So if you don't mind, we'll conclude our interview here. If anyone has any further questions for Guy Charles or GenFlow, please email them to our dedicated email address at genflow@firstlookventures.co.uk, and we'll get you an answer into GenFlow's exclusive Telegram group as soon as possible. Plus, you can also join Guy Charles, Eric and the team in the GenFlow Telegram group, the link of which is posted on our main FLV Global Telegram group. So, I hope you had a wonderful summer, or you continue to have a wonderful summer, Guy Charles, and thank you once again for chatting with me today and our community.
Thank you very much, Connie. Thank you, everybody, and hope to see you soon.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Merci. Bye-bye.